All right, so I was curious. We have friends that do many different things. So I wanted to ask ChatGPT if we had, two set of families, which one would benefit the child or the children more, right? So I wrote down in ChatGPT, help break down the difference between what these two children would inherit. Child A has a setup where the parents created a trust for the child to inherit. Inside the trust has rental properties, index universal life policies that list the trust as the beneficiary, and the total value of everything is $10 million. Child B has parents where they don't believe in life insurance and invest heavily into the market, buying dividend paying stocks, mutual funds, and also has rental properties. But the properties are in the parent's name, but they will hand it over to the child when they grow up. The value is also $10 million, just to make it even. So the question is, which child would receive more from their parents? Which child would have more protection with their setup? And which child would have better asset and wealth preservation? And let's see how it plays out. Great question. This gets to the heart of estate planning, protection, and generational wealth transfer. Let's break it down step by step and compare child A versus child B. Inheritance process. Child A, trust with the IUL setups. Assets, real estate, IUL death benefits are held inside the trust. When parents pass, the trust immediately controls and distributes assets according to instructions. No probate court, which means you don't have to go to court and justify everything. Saves time, privacy, and definitely a lot of costs, and you're not paying any legal fees, court fees. IUL death benefits are income tax free and paid quickly. Rental properties are already titled into trust, so transition is seamless. Now, child B, investment in parents' names. Assets are in parents' personal names, not a trust. At death, the estate must go through probate, which can take 12 to 24 months. It may cost 5 to 10% of estate value in legal fees. Stocks, mutual funds, and rental properties may trigger capital gains, estate taxes, or forced sales to settle debts or taxes. No immediate liquidity. Winner, child A. Faster, smoother transfer with liquidity and less cost. Asset protection during the parent's life and after transfer. Child A, everything that we've already set down. Assets in a properly structured trust are protected from lawsuits and creditors. Huge. You don't want people going after your children, knowing that they're inheriting a lot of stuff. IUL cash values grow tax deferred and are shielded from market downturns, so you're not at market risk or volatility. When the market crashes, you do not lose any money. After inheritance, distribution can be controlled, whether you want to stagger the payouts, protection from divorce, or irresponsible spending. My children get a little piece of their inheritance at different stages or ages in their life, so they don't get it all at once. Child B, traditional investments, no trust. Assets in parents' names are exposed to creditors, lawsuits, medical expenses, or long-term care costs. So medical expenses pass down to the children, it seems. If parents need nursing home care and haven't planned properly, assets could be drained. If you're going to put your parents in nursing homes, just know that they look back 5 years and anything under their possession, control, or ownership will be liquidated to pay for it. Or at least if you're expecting the state to pay for, or Medicaid to pay for a nursing home. If you have assets, they will liquidate it. After inheritance, children's creditors, divorces, or bad decisions can wipe out the wealth. So the winner in this is child A again. Taxes and wealth preservation. Again, child A has the IULs, or the life insurances that are tax-free death benefits, can offer tax advantage withdrawals and loans if used in life. You can use money from the life insurance policies while you're alive, not only after you die. A lot of people don't understand how life insurance works, or if you only understand term, which is temporary life insurance, then yes, term and whole life are more death insurance than they are life insurance, unless you have an infinite banking design in whole life. But if you're just buying a straight up whole life or a term, usually those are designed for death benefits. When you die, they pay out. I mean, whole life does have cash value with it, but the more you pay into it, the less the life insurance company is paying out, because essentially you are paying for your own life insurance. Rental property income can be distributed with clear tax planning inside the trust. For child A, trust may reduce estate tax liability with the right to sign, irrevocable trust, GST planning, etc. Step up in basis still applies to real estate if structured correctly. Step up is the value of the house at time of passing, is what the children will get the value for, so they don't pay taxes. But once it grows above that, they are responsible. Child B, investment accounts may get a step up in basis, so kids may avoid capital gains when they inherit. But without a trust, so like if I bought a stock at $10 and it's now worth $1,000, when I pass, the children can receive it at $1,000, and then anything that it grows up into, it'll be considered as if they bought it at $1,000. But without a trust, so basically, to break it down even more, is the gain from $10 to $1,000. The children wouldn't be responsible for that. But without a trust, estate taxes could hit harder depending on thresholds. 13 million federal exemption in 2023, but could shrink in the future. That goes down for inheritance tax. That was temporarily increased, but after 2025, unless they reapprove it or they put it back in, federal inheritance tax will drop back down to $6 or $7 million. Trump boosted it his first time around in office. So he is in office again now. He could increase it, try to make it permanent. But if not, it'll go back down to $6 million for inheritance tax. Anything over that will get hit with that. And it could be 20, 30, 40%. Massachusetts has like an 11% inheritance tax at $2 million, and then federally, the taxes could go up to 20, 30%. No life insurance provide immediate tax-free liquidity for estate taxes, debts, or emergencies. Children may have to sell assets at bad times to cover the costs. And with the transfer of everything, they might have to sell some things just to pay to receive whatever assets they have. So winner in this situation, child A. More tools for tax management and liquidity. Life insurance, very liquidable. Child A, IUL provides immediate liquid cash, the death benefit outside of real estate or illiquid cash. Cash value can be taken out, borrowed from anytime, so it's not even just waiting for the parents to pass away. Child B, wealth is tied up in rental properties and market accounts, which may need to be sold. And if the timing or the market's not great, then you're selling at a loss. Or if it's an emergency, then you're taking whatever price you can. You don't have time to really negotiate or set the terms and conditions, right? So if you have a house that you bought for $500,000, and right now, market prices are high, interest rates are high, people aren't bidding over like they were during COVID time, you might have to sell it for what it is, whatever you can get if you need the money immediately. Long-term wealth preservation, child A, the trust can outlive generations. If done correctly with the trust and life insurance, it can roll over into a legacy, the way the Rockefellers have it set up. Life insurance guarantees wealth replacement, even if real estate market crashes. Parents dictate multi-generational rules, can create a family legacy fund. Child B, strong growth potential if markets do well, but wealth is vulnerable to estate taxes, family disputes, lawsuit, divorces, bad spending habits. No guarantee the wealth survives beyond 1 or 2 generations. So by the time your grandchildren are born, the money might be lost there. Winner, child A again. Final breakdown, who receives more? Child A. No probate, immediate insurance payout, less risk of forced liquidation. Who has more protection? Child A. Trust shields from creditors, divorces, and lawsuits. Who has better wealth preservation? Child A. In short, both inherit $10 million on paper, but child A setup means they'll likely keep more of it and for longer. Child B can see erosion from probate, taxes, or forced sale. So it might be $10 million on paper, but after you take out all the taxes, after you take out everything, with the step up, they won't have to pay for that, but they could see a lot more just dragging everything out through probate, taxes, or forced sales. And like the real question about this isn't so much as child A or child B, but this really goes into how important financial planning really comes down to. A lot of parents don't believe in setting up a trust or a will or setting up life insurance policies. They go with what they know, and unfortunately, when you talk about societies where if you didn't have $250,000 or more, if you weren't part of the in crowd, Titans on Netflix is actually a really good show to watch. Just understand the history of money. But if you weren't part of the crowd that they wanted you to be, like, to let you in, you wouldn't understand the rules, regulations, the benefits. You wouldn't understand the tax liabilities, write-offs, deductions. You wouldn't have access to all of that. So your estate wouldn't be set up. They want you to pretty much work as hard as you can to barely retire, if you can retire at all, right? And that's how some people stay controlled. You know what I mean? But when you understand how all of this works, it's different. It changes your perspective on things and how important future planning really comes into play. And that's the importance of financial planning. A lot of people, and for the ones that think they know it all, you just let them think they know it all, because at the end of the day, their family's paying for it, right? The ones that are open to listen, you share what you can. The people that are like, oh, I make 30-40% in my investments. I'm never going to need money ever again. Well, that's great. At the end of the day, that's great, because that's only what you can enjoy. It's never going to pass down further than that. And some people might say, hey, I don't have anything, but they might have $5 million in life insurance, and they put all their money into assets that are protected, so they might not have anything on paper or anything to show, or they might not live, a flashy lifestyle, but they could be set up for generations and generations. All right. So, the more you learn about life insurance, I could go on and ask more questions here, but I just wanted to see for long-term planning because I have a bunch of people that are tied, they are fixated, and they they see the returns on their investments, and they swear they'll never lose all their money, or they'll never have to worry about money again. And that might not always be the case, because financial literacy is more than just making money or getting returns. If you don't know how to manage it, if you don't know how to spend it, if you don't know how to protect it, it's still going to go away. It's just a matter of when, right? But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting conversation, just because I was talking to somebody, and they're like, oh yeah, I have software programs that do all my trading, all AI. I don't have to worry about this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And we're not here to win conversations. We're here to educate people. And just like college, some people graduate with a degree and they don't do anything with their life. Some people don't graduate college and they're multi-billionaires. You know what I mean? Education is not so much as just giving people information, but it's actually what they understand and what they're willing to be open to learning, right? So that was that. ChatGPT is actually pretty fun. You could put in a lot of different scenarios. I could put it here: why do wealthy people who have enough money for funeral expense still buy cash value permanent life insurance? Do wealthy people buy term more or permanent more? Let's see. That's an excellent question. It touches on one of the biggest misconceptions about life insurance. Wealthy families aren't buying it for funeral expenses. They use it as a financial strategy and wealth multiplier. See, so even though we can offer life insurance, we don't actually sell life insurance for people to replace GoFundMe. That is just the very basic nature of it. But we sell solutions to families who are looking to preserve their wealth. Okay, we sell opportunity and solutions to people. It just so happens that a life insurance policy does a lot of that work for them. So why wealthy people can buy cash value permanent life insurance? or why wealthy people buy cash value. Wealthy individuals already have cash for burial, so they use life insurance for bigger strategic reasons. You got to think bigger to really understand this concept. Estate tax liquidity. Again, federal estate tax is 13 million right now. It's going to drop in 2026 because it's a temporary push that Trump pushed in first term. If he extends it, great. If not, then it'll be 6-7 million for inheritance tax, federal inheritance tax. If an estate exceeds the exemption if an estate exceeds the exemption, the estate tax is 40%. Like I said, it's not cheap. Like, imagine you're gonna lose 40% of your estate just for inheritance tax or estate tax. Life insurance provides tax-free liquidity, so heirs don't have to sell off businesses, real estate, or stocks to quickly pay the IRS. Basically, you're going to use the life insurance to recover or reimburse yourself from having to pay the estate tax. So let's say we have $20 million is over the $13 million mark, or it's going to be over the $6-7 million mark. You're going to have to pay up to 40% on that extra. All right. So if it's 13 million, you're going to have to pay 40% for that 7 million extra. What they're going to do is buy that life insurance to replace that amount of tax that they're going to pay the IRS. So now they still pass down 20 million to their family, if that makes sense. An example, $50 million might owe 15 million in estate taxes. A 15 million permanent life policy ensures heirs can pay without fire selling assets. Okay, so again, whatever they would pay, they're going to get back through the life insurance proceed, which is tax-free. Wealth replacement. Wealthy people give to charity, set up foundations, or make large gifts. They use life insurance to replace those assets back to the family. Generational. Imagine that, huh? Like, you spending your life getting all the benefits from donating and giving back because, it's a strategy. And then in death, you're going to get it all back through life insurance while you've already built a lifetime reputation for yourself for donating to these causes. Generational wealth and legacy. Permanent policies are often placed inside irrevocable trust. This keeps death benefits outside the taxable estate and ensures multi-generational inheritance. Some families call this the family bank, a pool of guaranteed tax-free money for heirs. Guaranteed asset and portfolio. Unlike stocks or real estate, life insurance is not correlated to the market, tax-free at death, contractually guaranteed payout. Term does not fall into this because most people outlive their term. I'll put that in next. Okay. Business planning, buy-sell agreements funded with insurance, key person, executive bonus. These are all amazing strategies that companies use for tax write-off purposes or deductions, or just strategies where they're replacing what they potentially might lose, and they're using the net that they get from that from their transactions to put into a life insurance policy, essentially overfunding it. They could 7 pay it or 5 pay it, but the money is going to grow tax-free after that. So like an executive bonus where they give themselves a bonus, the company gets to write that amount off as a deduction, but the individual would have to pay taxes as income tax. But the net that they have left over from that, they dump that into a permanent policy that compounds and grows over time. They're gonna replace the amount that they would have paid in taxes in a fairly short amount of time, 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 at the latest. But it's all gonna be tax free after that, and then it continues to grow exponentially. So executive bonus plans where the company funds permanent life for executives as a benefit, and it all is tax-free. Life insurance is tax-free unless you misuse it or you cross the MEC. Do wealthy people buy term or permanent? Middle-class families tend to buy term because it's cheaper, covers the income replacement needs, okay? But most people outlive it, so they don't have it when they need it most. Wealthy families lean heavily towards permanent because they don't outgrow and they don't need the money right away. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is they don't it's extra. It's all extra for them. So we have to change the mindset on trying to because a lot of people that sell term, the Dave Ramsey, Primerica companies, they sell term because they're focusing on cost, and you know what I mean? Essentially, they're looking for sales on quantity, right? Because I can sell a policy for $50, But the problem is, like, if they were really clear on it, after 10, 20, or 30 years, if you pass away, I mean, if you outlive the term and the term expires, your family essentially gets nothing. And the strategy to that is that, let's say you buy a 30-year term for $1 million. The goal is that in 30 years, you will have accumulated over $1 million worth of assets yourself. So that way, when the term expires, you still have $1 million in assets. The problem is most people don't accumulate $1 million in assets. So by the time the term expires, they're still broke. They're still not wealthy, right? So really, it really depends on the strategy and if people are disciplined enough to follow the strategies, and you're hoping and praying that the market is in your favor. Because if not, you're going to lose money regardless. They want guarantees that last their lifetime. Term eventually expires. Premiums are a rounding error for them. So cost is less of a concern. And that's why high net worth family and business owners use permanent life insurance far more than term. Bottom line, wealthy people don't buy life insurance for burial costs. They buy it to create liquidity, preserve and replace wealth, build a multi-generational legacy, diversify their portfolio with guarantees, fund business succession planning. Okay? I mean, look, you could even look to see who does that. I'm not going to do that. I mean, Waka Flocka talks about it. You got Jim Harbaugh, NFL coach. Walt Disney, Ray Kroc, they've used permanent life insurance policies to build or expand their legacies, right? Biden, that's his name, right? The last one? Yeah, Biden has permanent policies. But let's see, why does buy term and invest the difference? And we'll even call out Primerica just because they are known for this. Why does buy term and invest the difference that Primerica and Ramsey? Why does buy term and invest the difference that Primerica and Ramsey promote tend to fail families who are looking to build generational wealth or even retire? With that strategy. Who do they target the most? Who do they target the most for this strategy? Low income, middle income, or wealthy? Actually, we should put communities, because most of the communities that are really affected by this are minority communities, if we're being honest. This is a powerful question because it cuts into why BTID often sounds good on paper but fails in practice, especially for families who want retirement security and generational wealth. And that's the reason why, a lot of this is to have retirement opportunities and pass something down for our children. Why BTID often fails on paper: don't waste money on permanent insurance, just buy cheap term. And you hear this from all these reps, you know what I mean, that sell term and invest the difference. And they just don't understand the hazard or the dangers they're actually putting their communities in, which is unfortunate. Discipline problem: few people actually invest the difference. I mean, that's the truth, right? All you're looking at is that $50, $100 life insurance for the term. And you're not putting away the $500, $600, or $1,000 that you're supposed to, right? So people complain that permanent policies are expensive, but it's built in where that money is being allotted and put aside for wealth or growth. If term costs $50 a month, permanent costs about $300. Families often pocket the $250 and they go on vacation, buy handbags, and drink or gamble their money away anyways. Market and risk problem: BTID assumes consistent market returns. Real life includes crashes, recessions, bad timing. Someone can send out a tweet or a new war can crash the market. If someone retires during a downturn like 2008, or let's say in 1999 to 2013, that lost decade where your money did not recover, the market did not recover for 13 years. I mean, you could look it up, S&P 500 from 1995 to like 2020, you know what I mean? Current, the last 30 years, you could look that up. And you'll see that the lost decade, the highest peak was around 1999, and it did not come back to that peak for 13 years. So during that time, even if you recovered your money, you lost purchasing power. So if someone retires during a downturn, their investment bucket can run dry really fast. If people are making $100,000 a year and they're living paycheck to paycheck, if your accounts crash and you don't have access to that money, how long can you live if people are struggling at $100,000 a year now to live comfortably? Longevity, term insurance expires 20 to 30 years. If someone outlives the term, which is likely, if they live into their 70s or 80s, there's no insurance payouts. By then, many haven't built enough assets to self-insure, leaving heirs with little. Estate planning problem, BTID ignores estate taxes, probate, liquidity needs, and asset protection. Everything is taxable. So you don't really have what you think you have. You can have $1 million and really walk out of there with only $550,000. You know what I mean? Talk about pulling the rug out from under them. Permanent life insurance in a trust provides tax-free liquidity to pay estate costs and preserve assets. Term does not. Behavioral, BTID advocates overestimate people's financial discipline. Most families don't max out IRAs, 401ks, or brokerage accounts, so the difference isn't really being invested. Results, family end up with no insurance payout, smaller retirement savings than projected, and nothing structured for generational wealth. Who they target most? Primeric and Ramsey, low to middle income communities. Marketing, why waste money on something expensive when you can invest it? They appeal to families who are budget conscious and may not understand permanent insurance designs. These families are often survival mode, so investing the difference consistently is unlikely. And for the record, financial advisors, they're not going to offer or recommend or really promote life insurance. They'll promote or recommend term life insurance, but they won't do anything else, mainly because they make their real money by managing your assets, by managing your investments. They end up getting a 1%, 2% fee from the amount of money that they play with that is yours. So whether the market wins or loses, they still get paid 1% based on how much your portfolio is worth. So that's why they're not going to promote life insurance where they don't get to pay, or they don't get paid a percentage of what you make or what you have. And you could put that in ChatGPT too. They'll break it down for you. Not wealthy families. High net worth families rarely follow BTID because you can't get wealthy following BTID. You cannot build wealth following Dave Ramsey. That's just not what it's designed to do. Dave Ramsey only helps people get out of debt. And then living off of no credit cards and cash, that's so unrealistic. You're going to end up being a 40-year-old who can't buy a house because you have no credit. You know what I mean? Very unrealistic. Not great practice at all. Maybe if you lived in another country, like a third world country where you got to buy everything in cash, that works. Amazing. But in America, where everything runs on credit, not possible. So high net worth family rarely follow BTID. They need permanent life insurance for tax and estate planning. Wealthy people see insurance as a strategic asset, not an expense. Okay? BTID is pitched to families who can least afford to fail, which is why it's dangerous. Like, oh man. Like, you almost need like a celebrity to say this to people just so that they would listen to it. Mainly because if not, you're like literally being guided by the wrong people. The blind following the blind. Why families end up with nothing? By retirement, the term expires, so there's no payout. The difference wasn't invested enough or got hit by market volatility. When death comes, heirs get zero insurance, so whatever's left in the market, that's all they get. Compared with permanent life insurance, the death benefit is guaranteed no matter when death occurs because it covers you to at least age 100 if you have a whole life, or 121 if you have an IUL. It creates immediate generational wealth, tax-free. It provides liquidity to cover estate costs, debts, or even fund future generations. Generational wealth lens, BTID. Maybe they retire okay if disciplined, but heirs often get little or nothing because, again, whatever assets you're building is barely going to be enough for the person to use in retirement. Generational wealth rarely survives beyond one generation. Permanent insurance families guaranteed payout creates a wealth multiplier. You put in 100, you get 1,000. You put in 1,000, you get 10 million. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the payouts are exponentially a lot greater. So even if the market crashes, the insurance replaces or grows wealth, funding trusts, businesses, or legacies for multiple generations. Bottom line, BTID sounds simple, but it usually fails families who need it most. It mainly targets low and middle income families, like lower middle, not upper middle. Wealthy families overwhelmingly use permanent life insurance as a tool to preserve and multiply wealth across generations. Would you like me to draft a presentation style? No. So, I mean, this is already a 30-minute conversation just using ChatGPT. But I just wanted to share this because a lot of times when this is the reason why financial literacy is important, and I'll put it out there just so people can watch it. But, sometimes they only want to hear what they want to hear. You know what I mean? And that's the unfortunate part is some people cannot create, that kind of generational wealth or that. It sounds great when people say, I want to break out of generational curses and build generational wealth. It sounds great to say it aloud, but most people aren't committed to do that, to actually do that. Because sometimes it might mean that you got to give up drinking. That might mean you got to give up one vacation a year. That might mean that, the child tax credit that you get for your child every year should go into a policy for their kids or for themselves instead of going to a handbag or shoes, right? And that's really the problem. I mean, at the end of the day, people don't know how to appreciate money so that it can appreciate, right? So, again, ChatGPT, you can do a lot. To me, I just think it's fun because when we set up, like for us, we have clients and, the lucky part is like we haven't had a client who had to pass away, you know what I mean? But we know that what we've set up and built for them is going to last them for generations and generations if they stick with it. And for me personally, I mean, everyone in my family has an IUL. You know what I mean? I'm working towards my siblings, nieces, and nephews. They're almost all covered. But I've used my children's IUL cash value to pay for trips, to pay for what I need, right? Because I know that when I pass away, they're going to inherit what I have set up for me. So I use my children's policies kind of just for spending money if I need to. But I'm not going to leave money in the bank because the bank's not going to give me any interest, right? Less than 1%. High yield savings and CDs that give you 5%, they're tricking you. I mean, we could put it in here. I really don't want to drag this out anymore. It's literally like a whole training in itself. But if you factor in income tax, capital gains tax, inflation or cost of living into a 5% return in high yield savings or CDs, is it worth it? Are you actually gaining? Compared to an IUL, where would the money best sit? Excellent comparison. Does parking money in a high yield savings CD actually grow wealth after taxes? It's definitely not going to grow wealth. You're going to break even at best. Let's break it down. High yield saving, 5%, which is high. All right. Just understand they only do that because inflation is high. They don't do that because they want to give you money. Inflation during COVID was 8%, so they had to do something to get people to buy into these accounts. Interest from high yield savings CD is taxed as ordinary income. So if someone's in the 24% bracket, you're only that 5% automatically drops to 3.8%. If you average in inflation, that 3.8 drops down to really only 0.8%. You're still getting less than 1%. Okay, for your high yield savings and CDs. So for you that believe out there that high yield savings CDs, I'm gonna lock it up for a year, 6 months, whatever it is, and you're gonna get that 5% return. Just know you're not really getting a 5% return. Okay, that's why people that get less than a 5% raise at their job, you're not making any more money than you did the year before. Okay, they're just paying for the cost of living increase. Because I hear, you know what I mean, and sometimes you just gotta sit there and listen to some of these people like they know finance, and it drives me nuts that you're trying to explain it just so they can do their own research, and you're like, and they're like, no, I know what I'm doing, I'm good, I'm all set, and you just let them be all set, because when the dust settles, we'll see how set they really are, right? Because at the end of the day, our job is only to educate. I'm not here to convince, manipulate, or, you know, persuade someone to save their own future or to set up their own retirement. Liquidity, high yield savings, money is liquid, can be pulled anytime. CDs, money is tied up. So while it's safe, the opportunity cost is high because you could be making more money with that amount of money somewhere else. IUL comparison, now compared to a well-designed, overfunded IUL. Well-designed, overfunded, keywords, okay? Don't go to someone that doesn't know how to set up an IUL, or someone that's trying to talk you into like a $5 million policy, okay? And you only have to pay $300 a month. It'll be the same thing where you're not going to have anything at the end of the day. Growth potential tied to the index. Historically, 6 to 8% credited, so already you're going to get more than that 5% anyways. Plus, there's no taxes that you have to pay on this, so you get to actually keep that money. Taxes, cash value grow is tax deferred. Loans withdrawals can be tax free if structured and used properly. Inflation, because long-term returns can outpace inflation, the real return is much stronger than a CD. Liquidity, cash value access typically within 2 to 3 years. It all depends on how much you put in. If you put in more, if you overfund it and max it out, you have access to it right away. If you're doing minimum and you're trying to build up, then it's going to take a little bit longer, right? Just think of maturity dates, or if you're working in a company, you're not fully vested to the free company matching until after 5 years or so. Think of it like that. Death benefits creates an immediate tax-free estate. Immediate, which CDs and high yield savings don't. You got to earn as it goes, okay? You earn it as it goes, or as it grows. Where each makes sense. Emergency funds, you can put it in there. Once your IUL builds up enough cash value access, then that makes it a more attractive emergency fund sitting spot. Short-term goals, vacation. And some people will plan a wedding and plan vacations, and they're able to save for that, but they can't save for their retirement or for their children. High yield savings CDs really are not designed for wealth building. They're just to get by, you know what I mean? IULs, long-term savings, retirement, college funding, generational wealth, tax-free retirement income strategy, legacy planning with guaranteed death benefit. Bottom line, safe but barely beats inflation after tax. You know what I mean? Less than 1%. They're not going to give you anything amazing, because then everybody would have money. That's not their goal. The goal is for them to have money. Banks to have money. Not for you to have money. Okay? Because what they're going to do is they're going to give you that 5%, but they're going to turn around and let someone else borrow it for 10%, 20%, 30%. And then they're going to give you, essentially, they know they're only going to give you less than 1% anyways. IULs will beat all of these other products out of the water if you know how to set it up and preserve it or use it the right way. Money for emergencies, money for building wealth, retirement. Would you like me to run? No. I mean, we could play with this all day, but essentially just know that not everything you hear from people is anything close to accurate. I always tell people, everything that I tell you, go look it up yourself. You know, that's the reason why I have ChatGPT here, is so that you can see me pull this up and read it. I would have told you all of this beforehand, but a lot of people, You know what I mean? Telling them is just not the same. And ask them to go do their own research. Most of them don't. They're just gonna. It's easier to listen to somebody else. And if you're listening to someone who's not a millionaire or who doesn't have your best interest at heart, then good luck to you. You know. But at the end of the day, educate yourself. Information, knowledge is out there. The Rockefellers have been able to build sixth generation of wealth since the 1890s. So that tells me that strategies have always been there. You could always start small. You don't have to start off where they started off, but you could always start off small and build it up, and then educate the next generation to understand how to manage and also utilize whatever strategies they have during their lifetime. But the worst thing you can do is just assume that everything's going to work itself out, because when you need it most, you're going to realize it's not working. Okay? And that's really the goal, is to help more families. And it sounds terrible to say it out loud, but not everyone's meant to be wealthy. Not everybody's meant to be rich. That's why, like, you know what I mean? The economy is divided so much. So don't, like, hold your breath for one person to save their own future, because it might not be them. It might be someone else in their family. It might be their children, but it might not be them. Some people have terrible habits. The last thing you want to do is give them more money to feed those terrible habits, right? Some people are alcoholics. Some people are gambleholics. So the last thing you want is for them to actually have more money to get into more drugs and alcohol or gambles. But I mean, at the end of the day, we just educate people. We share information. Whether they take it or not, that's really up to them. Some people believe that you should go out of your way and convince them and, like, never give up on people. But that only works out if they haven't already given up on themselves. You know what I mean? When you see people that are stuck in their ways, they're not looking to learn. They're not looking to grow. They're just trying to get by. People that are fixated on their little limited strategies. Because the only way to prove them wrong is for someone to die to get a huge life insurance payout. Or the only way to prove them wrong is wait 30 years when someone is living off of a boat or traveling the world every single day because their cash value is generating hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in interest. You know what I mean? Nobody has time to play that game. Help those that want to be helped. I mean, that's probably the most important thing. There are people that are looking for answers, that are praying for solutions. Help those people out. Reach out, make yourself available to them. For the people that think that whatever they're doing is going to work because they follow some Dave Ramsey guy or Susie Orman lady, and it's going to change their life, then let them follow their way. Maybe they'll find some break in their life and they can live peacefully because they have a, low maintenance, low expectation kind of lifestyle. But don't hold back from sharing with other people just because you meet some people that are stubborn. There's a reason why 90% of Americans only control 40% of the income. Okay? We could look that up just so you can see what percentage you're in. How much income or how much? It wouldn't be the income. How much of the money? How much of the wealth? Yeah, it probably might be the wealth. Or what is the wealth breakdown? What is the wealth breakdown? All right, let's see. I asked a few different things. I couldn't quite word it the way I wanted it to. Hopefully it picks it up. Here's a clear view of wealth and income distribution in the U.S., including where 200K annual income lands you. According to Investopedia, the top 10% of Americans hold 74%. Oh my goodness. The top 10% hold 3/4 of the nation's wealth, while the bottom 50% just hold 2%. Outrageous. A Vox analysis echoed similar figures. The top 10% control more than 2/3, so that's 67% of national wealth, leaving the other 90% literally with only like 33% of the wealth. The top 10% held 67%, so it's pretty average, between 67 to 75%. The top 1% alone holds approximately 35%. That's crazy. Yes, 90% of families do not come close to controlling 50% of the wealth. The bulk of U.S. wealth remains highly concentrated. So, that's all you Dave Ramsey people out there, all the Susie Orman people and buy term invested difference people, that's where you guys fall in. How much does the top 10% control? Where does 200,000 income put you? The top 10% of individual earners start at around 150K. So, we're on track. We're doing okay. While the top 5% was approximately $200,000. That's actually pretty good. We just got to stay disciplined. If you're earning 200K personally, you're right on the cusp, or just below the top 5%. Oh, man. For households, the top 10% threshold in 2024 was 234,000. Let's say 235. Top 5% was over 315. Thus, the 200K puts you roughly around that ballpark. I mean, like that alone is. If you guys, this is just a jab. Where do the BTID or Ramsey followers? It's just gonna pretty much go over. Yeah, they're saying it in a nice way. No one's making over $200,000 in there. If you want to really read it out, typically earning between 50 to 120K. Not generally in the top 10%. Usually the bottom 90%. There you go. Who collectively own less than 30% of the U.S. wealth, living paycheck to paycheck. Why BTID appeals? Because they're looking at the cost, not the potential, opportunity, or the future. These households often don't have enough extra cash flow. Lack of access to planning tools. Right? It's lack of access. Some people just don't want to listen because their mind is so made up on it. Wealthier families definitely don't use BTID. I'll tell you, I don't use BTID because I'd never be able to expand my asset collection. For where do BTID fall? Low, bottom 90%. So there you go. You know what I mean? And the goal is not to stay in the bottom 90%. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the problem with BTID and Ramsey. Is like they keep people there. Like the goal is to start there. It's not our fault that we were born into a poor family, but it's our fault if we stay in the poor and create more poor families from us. So just because you're in 100 or let's say $75,000 a year income, it doesn't mean that you can't create and break out of that, at least for your children. And that's what people don't understand. They don't get. They're very closed-minded to it. So at the end of the day, it's really not our job to turn everybody into wealthy millionaires. But hopefully this was fun. You can play with ChatGPT, kind of get an idea, learn. Sometimes we don't get the right information or ask the right questions, so we're limited to what information we have access to. All right, so happy Labor Day. Hope you guys have a good one. And keep learning and keep sharing.